All right, back on my home turf. Over these next couple months, I'm going to try adding in some Saturdays, most likely at the Hustler up in LA. So if anyone's around, let me know. We're in for 500. Let's get into it. So I've been a little carded here in the early going. Plus, we're playing six-handed, so I've kind of been blinded down a little bit. But here I look down at Ace King 10-9, single suited to the ace in the small blind. The cutoff limps, button makes it 20. I call, and the limper calls. So we're going three ways to a flop. Flop comes King 6-5 rainbow. As opposed to checking to the original raiser, which is what most people do, I decided to lead 35, kind of a blocker type bet, and I just want to take the lead here, really. So the cutoff folds and the button makes the call, so we're going heads up to a turn. Turn brings another 6, and I check for pot control, and the button checks back, so still heads up to a river. River brings an ace. I decided to go for some thin value, but before I can bet, my opponent folds, so we take it down. We're still playing six-handed when I look down at Ace Queen 2-2, single suited to the ace in the small blind. Under the gun makes it 15. Three callers to me, I call, and the big blind call. So we're going six ways to a flop. Flop comes about as good as it can get with this hand. It's 5-4-2 with two diamonds. And recently I've been trying to lead out with my big hands, but we're six ways and the two late position players are pretty aggressive. So I decided to check. Goes all the way to the button who bets 90, and I make it 360. Folds back to him, he pushes, and of course I call. So we're going heads up to a run out. Turn brings a queen, which is obviously not a great card as I block my own full house now. River brings another queen. So we fill up here and I turn over my hand and my opponent shows his and we're good. So taking down a pretty good sized pot here in the early going. So this is a classic hand where it's never really a bad decision to get it all in because really, even if he has the worst possible hand against mine, like say a set of fives with a couple diamonds that block my flush, I still have a decent amount of equity. But most likely he's going to have the straight here. And in that situation, I'm actually a pretty good favorite. Most likely around like 60 to 62% equity, which in PLO is a pretty big deal. This isn't Hold'em where you're going to get, 75, 80% equity. If you can get your money in against one player over 60% equity, you're obviously going to take it every time. Now we're up to seven-handed. I look down at Ace, Ace, Queen 8, single suited to the queen in the cutoff. Early position player makes it 20. I call and the small blind call, so we're going three ways to a flop. Flop comes 10-9-9 with two diamonds. Checks to the original raiser who bets 45. And I don't want to give up on the hand yet, so I make the call, and the small blind thinks for a little bit, and he calls as well. So still three ways to a turn. Turn brings a jack of spades. When it checks to me, thinking about the situation, the small blind definitely looked like he was considering a check raise on the flop, so not 100% sure where I'm at, but I want to definitely charge any potential flush draws out there, kind of see where I'm at. So I bet 75. Small blind thinks for a little bit and folds. Original raiser decides to call. So we're going heads up to a river. River brings a 6, which shouldn't change anything. When my opponent checks to me, I'm thinking about what I can potentially get value from. And, he certainly could have a weak 9 here that would call. But he's most likely going to have either a busted flush draw or, he certainly could have something that beats me. He's a pretty aggressive player, but he does like to go for big check raises on the river when he has a pretty big hand. And he definitely likes to put people in uncomfortable spots. And I guess I just talked myself into checking back, and I turn over my hand, and we're good. Here I'm the straddler in a straddled pot. I look down at King 10, 8-7, single suited to the 10. The button calls, small blind completes, and I check my options. So we're going three ways to a flop. Flop comes 7-5-4 with two diamonds. When it checks to me, I check, and the button checks as well. So still three ways to a turn. Turn brings a king. The small blind bets 25. I call, and the button folds. So heads up to a river. River brings a 10, so it gives me top two pair. Small blind bets 50 now, and I think it's a pretty easy call considering, there's no flush available. Obviously, he could have definitely slow played a straight on the flop, but I do have a blocker to that, and he's a pretty loose player, so I make the call. He turns over his hand, and I actually looked like 6-3, so I almost mucked my hand, but he has King 5, 3-2. So he had two pair along with the straight draw, and I'm going to take it down. Here, look down at Jack, Jack, 10-9, single suited to the jack in the cutoff. There's an early position raise at 20. I call, and there are two other callers, so we're going four ways to a flop. Flop comes down Ace, Jack, 6, rainbow. Checks to the original raiser who bets 50. I elect to just call, and the two other players fold, so we're going heads up to a turn. Turn brings another 6. My opponent checks, and I decide to slow play and check back, so still heads up to a river. River brings an 8, and unfortunately my opponent doesn't take the bait and checks back, and I bet 105 and he quickly folds, so we take it down. Here look down at ace queen 9-8 double suited in middle position in a straddled pot. Under the gun limps, I limp, there are a couple other limpers. Back to the straddler who makes it 65. One call to me, I call, and there's another call behind, so we're going 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes 10-7-7 with 2 diamonds. When it checks to me, I check, and the late position player checks as well, so still 4 ways to a turn. The turn brings an 8, the straddler bets 200, folds to me, I fold, and the late position player folds, so the straddler takes it down. Here look down at ace 8-7-5, single suited to the ace in the big blind. There's an early position limp, next player makes it 25, one caller, I call, and the limper call, so we're going 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes queen 10-6 with 2 hearts, checks to the late position player who bets 100. I think for a bit and make it 400. This opponent has about 700 total, so I don't mind playing for all of it. Never in terrible shape, obviously, with my hand. So folds back to this player, and he thinks for a little bit and gives me a look and throws his cards in the muck, so I take it down. So during the last video, there was a couple comments recommending that I could loosen up a little bit in spots because obviously I have a very tight image. And I don't know for sure, but I believe in this particular spot, my image might have got me the win. Obviously who knows what would have happened, but he definitely could have folded a set there. Because I certainly would have made the same play with, top set, middle set, some kind of like king jack 9 combo draw. So who knows, but I'm definitely going to work on trying to continue to use my image to my advantage, so we take it down. Here look down at ace jack 2 double suited in the big blind in a straddle pot. There are 4 limpers to me, I make it 35, and we get 5 callers, so we're going 6 ways to a flop. Flop comes 9-7-6 rainbow, so not exactly the flop I had in mind with this hand. I checks all the way to the middle position player who bets 200, folds to me, I fold, and everyone else folds. So he takes it down and he shows his hand. He has 10-6-6-3, so he flopped a set with a straight draw and he's going to take it down. Here look down at ace king 9-7 double suited in middle position in a straddled pot. I limp, gets back to the straddler who makes it 40. I call, and we're going heads up to a flop. Flop comes 9-6-6 with 2 clubs. Straddler checks to me, and I decide to check back, so still heads up to a turn. Turn brings a 7, and my opponent bets 50, and I make the call, so we're still going heads up to a river. River brings a pretty bad card in the 5 of spades, and my opponent bets 100. And here, there's just so many combinations that now beat me. Even if I was ahead on the turn, I don't block any of the straights, and he definitely could be bluffing even with a hand that beats me, like 10s or jacks, something like that. So for those reasons, I decide to fold. Here look down at ace 8-6-6 double suited in middle position. Early position makes it 20. There's a caller to me, I call, and one of the late position players call. So we're going 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes ace queen 8 with 2 spades. When it checks to me, I bet 40, kind of see where I'm at and potentially get some value from some flush draws here. So 2 callers, and we're going 3 ways to a turn. Turn brings a pretty safe card in the 7 of diamonds. When it checks to me, I decide to turn up the heat a little bit. It's going to be obviously very likely that one or both of my opponents has a flush draw since I have no spades. So I bet 130, and the late position player thinks a little bit. He's counting out potentially some raising chips, but he just calls and the other player folds. So we're going heads up to a river. River brings a meaningless deuce, and I decide to check. I don't really believe I can get called by worse, and I want to give him a chance to bluff. So I check, and he thinks for a little bit and checks back. I turn over my hand, and he says, "You're good." He also says that when you're going to edit this, you can definitely have my permission to tell everyone I play this like a donkey. He's a regular here, pretty cool guy, but I believe when he saw my hand, he definitely told himself that he could have probably got me off of it with a big raise on the turn, which is probably correct. But as played, I take it down. Here look down at ace 9-8-5, single suited to the ace, under the gun in a straddled pot. I limp, there's one late position limper, folds to the big blind who makes it 30. The straddler calls, I call, and the limper calls, so we're going 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes 6-5-2 rainbow. Action checks to me, I check, and the late position player checks, so still 4 ways to a turn. Turn brings a 9 of hearts, giving me the backdoor flush draw. The original raiser bets 100, folds to me, I call, and the other player folds, so we're going heads up to a river. River brings a 10, my opponent checks. I decide to check back as I don't believe I can get value from worse. He turns over his hand. He has ace 9, 7, 5, and I turn over mine, and looks like we're chopping it up. Here, look down at 10, 10, 6, 6, single suited under the gun. I limp. There are 2 other limpers. Gets back to the big blind, who makes it 20. I call, and the 3 other players call. So we're going 5 ways to a flop. Flop comes 10, 3, 2, rainbow. Checks to me. I bet 90, and everyone folds, so we take it down. Here we're playing 5-handed. I look down at ace, jack, 7, 6, single suited to the ace on the button. There's an early position limp. Late position player makes it 25. I call, and there's 3 other callers, so we're going 5 ways to a flop. Flop comes 9, 5, 4 with 2 hearts. When it checks to me, I bet 85, and everyone folds, so we take it down. Played a little while longer. The game was still short-handed, and it really wasn't that good despite there being a super aggressive player to my right, so I decided to rack up.
What's up, guys? Wayne back here with you. So today I was in for 500, out for 1517, so profit of 1017. Game was short-handed for most of the day. I think the most we had was like 7 players at one point, mostly 6-handed. At the beginning, had the ace queen 2-2. Not really sure why I called, honestly, being in the small blind. It's not really a hand I typically play, but the original raiser made it 15 as opposed to 20, and there was a couple aggressive late position callers. So obviously I got a very favorable flop. I kind of put him on exactly what he had, and obviously against that hand I'm in really good shape, so was fortunate to fill up there on the river. Then really after that, got some small pots. I chose to just call with the ace, ace, queen 8. I know there's probably going to be some people that will comment on that one, but you know, as I've mentioned in previous videos, I do try to keep the pots smaller, you know, pre-flop at times. You know, I definitely try to navigate my way through the hands. You know, I ended up getting a pretty decent sized pot there. The player 2 seats to my right, he is very aggressive. He's definitely capable of bluffing off with air. So I believe that made me play a little bit more passive. You know, I had the double suited aces. I chose just a smaller, you know, less than pot size raise. You know, I just figured, you know, once the first person calls, I'm not going to be really that big of a favorite 4 or 5 ways, and you know, obviously got out flopped there. But overall, I think I played pretty well. It was a little shorter session today, 4 hours. You know, I think I played pretty well, but let me know what you guys think. If you guys enjoyed it, please hit the like and subscribe button. If your viewing experience could have been better, please let me know how down in the comments below, and see you guys next time. Take care.